Hey guys, I'm Janet, on occasion, and we're playing another Total War Warhammer 2 Battle Replay today. We're actually playing two, because this one is a bit of a joke, honestly. With this one, right, so I wanted to get some Empire versus, sorry, it's not some Empire, some Chaos versus High Elves. And I ended up against the same guy twice in a row, and this was actually the second time I encountered him. He did basically the same thing as the first battle, so massive line of Loathe and Seaguard. A couple of bolt throwers, you know, he's got the prince there, and in this one he did actually bring 3 chariots, when before he just had 1 Tyrannok chariot and a Star Dragon, but yeah, basically the same premise. So we're going to speed things up straight away, because basically what I went with was a load of Forsaken, who are just going to chew through them. I've got Sartorial in the front, just to soak up arrows, because he's got great missile resist, and I've got a Chaos Sorcerer of Fire, because I knew he was just going to stand there. And that is basically the moral of this small, you know, part of this video. So also I've got a load of Chaos Chariots, because I wanted to give Chaos Chariots a bit of a go, and I thought if he's just got all infantry, I'll just run into him and be fine. And I brought Shaggoths to kill the dragon, you know, so I had everything. I figured he'd bring the same kind of thing. And pretty much the same. So sending my chariots over this way just to screen these ones, stop them from charging down my Forsaken, and the Shaggoths will eventually, you know, get there. So as you can see, Sartorial has taken a ton of damage, because, you know, there's a lot of arrows, but it saved my Forsaken from getting hit a lot. Now, it looks like, you know, things are a bit ropey, but honestly when this front line hits, it's going to kill everything. But they don't even need to, because this is an overcast burning head, so that's 1 unit completely destroyed, 2 units completely destroyed, 3 units completely destroyed. I mean, I'm killing a lot of Forsaken, but I don't care. And 4 units completely destroyed. 5 units completely destroyed. 6.5 units. So 6.5 units of Loathe and Seaguard. 1 spell. Yeah. Guys, just, if you're going to go, if you don't want to micro too much, and you're going for a build like this, just stagger your positioning. Okay? So don't put them in 1 line. Put them in 2 lines with gaps between everything. That way, you can't get completely wiped out by 1 spell, like what happened here. So, because you don't want this to happen to you. So, you know, if you are, like, a little bit iffy about your micro and things, and you want to go with something that can sort of run on autopilot to an extent, you still need to, you know, not put things in a big line, because you're going to have to move out the way of spells, because that is just asking for a spell. I mean, look at that. It's pretty scary. So, yeah, so I just wanted to show you guys this, just as a, you know, a little thing. If you're not great on micro, because I know a lot of people who watch these channels are new to, you know, to sort of playing multiplayer, or haven't even played multiplayer before. It's just a little warning, don't make a big line, especially if you're encountering the same guy twice in a row. You can't use the same tactic, and unfortunately changing a dragon for some chariots isn't enough of a swing, you know. I'm still going to know, okay, he's probably going to bring a line of Loathe and Seaguard again. And yeah, and it just worked out great. 235 kills with 1 spell. It's quite formidable. So this is just a little warning, so I'm not trying to embarrass this guy. So, you know, be kind. But I just wanted to point that out as a bit of a warning, because you really don't want people to be able to, you know, sort of exploit you in that way. So if you're going to bring an army like this could actually work. If you had 2 completely distinct lines, that could potentially work even better, but it allows me to hit his entire line all at once. There's a reason why you have a front line and then archers, you know. So although Loathe and Seaguard will be okay in the front line, they're better just firing arrows. That's, you know, they're adaptable like that. So really you want the ones with shields and a couple of the others in the front, have some more in the back, stagger their positioning a bit, so, you know, they're not all hit at once, and it means you can get better firing arcs on everything. And yeah, you can get a lot more damage done that way. And also, you could even put some Loathe and Seaguard sort of, you know, behind, you know, a couple of units behind the Eagle Claw bolt throwers to keep them safe from cavalry. So, you know, there's ways to position, and I think that's really important. So, I just wanted to point that out, really. You know, don't allow people to exploit you like that. You know, it can be easily avoided. Just slightly different formation. You know, he wouldn't have had to really micro much, but I would have been able to wipe out, like, his entire army in 1 spell, because nobody wants that. So, yeah, so I thought I'd just do that as a bit of a PSA, and then we'll get to an actual replay where I did get, you know, a very, very tense match between Chaos and the High Elves. So, we're going to skip to that now. Okay, so here we're on the next one, and you can see got Sartorial again, because, you know, against High Elves, it's always good to have that missile resist. And I've gone with frontline of Forsaken, but I have changed things up a bit. So instead of going with all the chariots, I went with some extra Shaggoths. I've got more Chaos Warhounds. I don't have as many Forsaken. I've gone with Law of Death this time for Spirit Leech and Fate of Buna on the big scary things. Hopefully shut them down early. And I've also got some Aspiring Champions to keep the Forsaken fighting. Not that they need too much help. I mean, yeah, 83 leadership is pretty fantastic. But, hang on. Yep, I still had yeah, I still had GemFX on. Anyway, so yeah, the Aspiring Champions, they're just very good. With their like magic damage, they're quite good at sort of yeah, getting some work done against Phoenix Guard, really, because they're very robust. They won't die for a very long time, but they've got magic attack, so it can, you know, bypass that physical resist. They'll also help against sort of Dragon Princes if they're getting in, you know, into my lines. Just having something like that is kind of useful. I quite like Aspiring Champions because they are very stubborn, so it will give me a lot more time to have my chariots over here do some things. So I've got 2 Chaos Chariots. So not the Gore Beast ones, just gone with the standard ones, because honestly, if you micro them enough, you can get a lot of work done with just the standard Chaos Chariots. So, oh, with Sartorial, I think I only brought the 1 spell. So yeah, I think I only brought Transmutation and Lead because I want to be able to lower their combat stats in the front line. Just help my Forsaken stay alive longer because they are a bit squishy. Surprising. Forsaken, they are a bit glass cannony. Less so than like War Dancers, but if you focus fire on them, they will go down pretty quickly. So yeah, I wanted to avoid that. And my opponent here, so more robust army, which is why I didn't go for the sort of the one trick, because I kind of knew what to expect in the last one. But in this one I didn't, which is why I wanted some more sort of heavy hitters with the Dragon Ogres. So you can see there's some Swordmasters of Hoeth in here. He's got Swordmasters of Hoeth over there, front line of Spearmen, and he's got these Loathen Seaguard in the back. Oh, and Archers with Light Armor there, mixed in with the Loathen Seaguard. Okay, so yeah, Loathen Seaguard on either side, and Archers in the middle. He's also got Tyrion, and he has a Mage of Life, and a Star Dragon. So some pretty formidable stuff here. It's going to be pretty scary. So we'll speed things up and get into it. So here you can see my Shaggoths and my Chaos Warhounds are going to go in here. I'm sending the Chaos Warhounds ahead because I want them to scout the trees and see what hidden units there are. Because honestly, with you know, with High Elves, you're kind of expecting there to be Dragon Princes hidden in the trees somewhere, right? So which is why I'm not moving my chariots up yet, because the chariots will get caught out if there's cavalry here. So I'm keeping them back for a bit. So I'm moving up my Chaos Sorcerer of Death. Not quite sure why. I think it's in case I did see someone I could use Fate of Buna on them quickly. But the rest of my army's getting there. They're basically having to wait for the Aspiring Champions, because they're the slowest. So, yeah. So, I scouted. I'm pretty sure I saw the Swordmasters. Actually, they just came out into the front line, having been spotted. So a load of the Archers are going to reposition to start shooting the Warhounds, and I'm just going to run them away. So, you know, you don't want them taking too much damage early on. So yeah, the Chariots starting to posture up, because I've seen there's only infantry on this side. So that's good news, and judging from the Swordmasters, I figured, okay, with the Star Dragon and everything, he's probably running out of money by now. So I figured there wouldn't be more cavalry. He does have more spearmen here, though. So he's swapped the spearmen and the Swordmasters, because he wanted sturdier front line to kill the Forsaken, and wanted to make sure that my chariots couldn't get in the back as well. So good move to change those around. And also, good idea to have the Swordmasters hidden to begin with. So here you can see the Star Dragon is going to come in, try and pick a fight with these guys. Probably not the wisest. And here you see I go for the Swordmasters one group and Spearmen with the other, and you see I can actually run through Swordmasters much easier than I can the Spearmen. The Spearmen got that charge defense, and it makes it a lot harder to wade through them. But I've got into the Archers with light armor already, doing some damage. Tyrion is now having to chase me around, and over on this side I've got my Dragon Ogres and now the Poison Warhounds. So this guy's going to be poisoned, and he's going to get beaten by, you know, all these Dragon Ogres, and you see the Dragon is taking a ton of damage. Also, Fate of Buna goes down these Swordmasters because I know they will absolutely decimate my Forsaken, so I need to help here. I need to get them below 50%, so that way I can register more hits with the Forsaken and hopefully finish them off nice and quickly. Luckily, these Swordmasters aren't really doing a whole lot. He has managed to run off one of my groups of chariots. There's only one left in that group, and there's some Forsaken that I've managed to get in the back fighting those Spearmen. They've actually taken some damage, because I think that some of them did get caught up on the Swordmasters there. But you can see I've taken out some Loathen Seaguard. These Swordmasters are now running. These Spearmen are just going to get sort of collapsed on by Forsaken. So I've got a lot of, you know, impact with this front line. You know, with the Chariots and with the Forsaken, Death Magic just to hit anything, you know, sort of valuable that's getting in my way. It lets me get into the back line and into their Archers nice and quickly, which is great. But I do have a very glass cannon-y kind of army. So here you can see I have managed to deal with the Star Dragon to an extent. Unfortunately, I think my hounds, yeah, they did run away, so they weren't continuing to nip on his heels, unfortunately, so he does escape. But I do have 2 units of Dragon Ogres and some hounds to get involved here now, which is pretty good. Sartorial barely taken any damage. I'm trying to get him to kill this Major Life, but Sartorial's not much of a duelist, honestly. So here you can see the Loathen Seaguard are actually doing pretty well against the Chariots. The Forsaken will just wrap them up, though. So Tyrion coming in here is definitely going to help them out. So I escape, try and go through some of these Swordmasters of Hoeth while they're not braced. So hopefully I can do some damage there, but I am staying in there a little bit too long, honestly. So here I am wrapping up the rest of these spearmen with you know, the Forsaken, and then charging with the Dragon Ogres is enough to break them. So I've got some other guys now. They're starting to come in. Taking a while though. Taking a while. And still trying to kill this Major Life, but it's taking some time. So I do have aspiring champions fighting him, so that is going to hurt. That is definitely going to hurt. But he gets bopped over there, so that's a bit annoying, because I need to keep on that so I can get some more damage in. Unfortunately, my Forsaken here are losing against the Spearmen in that prolonged combat with the help of the Swordmasters. So I'm trying to get in on all sides, and actually the Dragon Ogres will do great against the Swordmasters, but I'm mainly trying to get some damage onto Tyrion. So also I'm using my other Dragon Ogres to try and chase off these Swordmasters so they don't come back, and I'm chasing them with the Forsaken, so now I can get the Dragon Ogres over here to do some damage to the Loathed Seaguard while the Forsaken continue to chase. So those guys won't come back. So over here, Mage is back, healed himself up again, so now load more health there. Some of these archers are starting to, you know, fire into these groups, which is a real pain. So, you know, the Forsaken here, they are holding, they are doing a lot of damage to these Seaguard. And now, I don't think he's, apart from these Spearmen, okay, no, I think they've lost it. I was going to say, nothing on his army has more than 50% health, you know, none of his infantry. So, martial prowess is gone. Now, I don't have to worry about that. So, I don't have to worry about them having, you know, sort of massive melee defense, which is pretty great. So, starting to do some damage to Tyrion here. So, he's used all his abilities. I think I did use a Enfeebling Foe on him at one point, while I'm trying to get some damage in. You know, the Aspiring Champions will hold their own pretty well for a while, but I really don't want this Chaos Sorcerer to stay here, to be honest. Especially using the Forbidden Rod, he's going to be damaging himself here. I need to get him out of combat. He's a lot more useful to me out of combat and not fighting Tyrion. So, oh, and here's a Spirit Leech, so just to help, you know, tip him over the edge. So, yeah, so I basically use my big monsters to try and do as much as I can, but the Dragon coming in here and fighting, you know, a rear charge into my Dragon Ogres is going to do a lot of damage. These Dragons are no joke. You really need to get a good surround on them, make sure, you know, you've got sort of combined arms against them. You don't want to just be fighting them with one unit. They will go from one unit to the next, and they will win every time. So, especially if that Life Mage stays alive. Where is he? Yep, still going, still going. So, Tyrion, I've ignored. I walked away from him. I didn't want to trigger Heart of Avalon and have the balance of power shift back into his favour. So I'm just trying to wrap up as many of his other units as possible. Because I find the best way to deal with Tyrion is you kill the rest of his army, and he tends to just run away. And then Heart of Avalon can't proc. So, you know, just leave him to it. If he's not chasing, that's great. And it looks like, you know, he's on a horse, so he could catch up. I guess he didn't realise that he was on his own. So he's used Foe Seeker, trying to give him some extra speed to get back into this fight. So I'm wrapping up a load of his infantry. You see I've got chariots basically just ping-ponging between units, just to make sure they keep breaking. So I want to keep them moving. I don't want to just chase a unit for too long, because there's other units that I can interrupt with a chariot, you know. So, and if I break them enough times, they will just shatter, because they can only break so many times before they do that. So you see the Forsaken are now a good target for Tyrion, because he's basically doing what I'm doing here. He's avoiding the expensive units, and he's trying to wrap up what he can, trying to destroy as many units as possible. Because these Forsaken, I'm quite happy to have chased the Loathed Seaguard forever. So that's the way to do it. So my hounds have come back. The Dragon has finished chasing off the Dragon Ogres over there, which is very annoying for me. They might come back. There's only 2 left, so, you know, they're pretty damn injured. I mean, look at the health. You can't even see it. So over here, more Archer Fire coming in, so I'm going to have to ping-pong back this way. You see, he is reforming a little line here, so he's got some Swordmaster Hoeth, some Spearmen, some more Loathed Seaguard, so, you know, he's got some stuff here, but they're all very small, right? It's all very small units, and Tyrion now is retreating to come back these guys up. And you see, I'm just going to send the chariot in, so they won't be able to keep the chariot in combat too easily. So while the Dragon and you know, Tyrion aren't close, I can just charge through. Here, very risky using a breath attack on something that's moving, and you see it just missed completely, and that's a shame because yeah, those breath attacks are definitely useful. So yeah, the chariot helping to wrap these guys up. So these archers have now shattered; they've broken too many times, and I should be able to get onto the next lot of archers here. So over here, ooh, I was about to come down here. So oh, stand your ground, comes down here. Transmutation of lead I've used on top of him. So now his melee attack and weapon damage is going to be a lot lower, so he's not going to be able to do as much damage to my units. Tyrion's in this fight too. The Swordmasters are trying to come in, but they've been hit by Transmutation of lead as well. So they're not going to be quite as good, but they're still going to be pretty formidable. They're Swordmasters. So I'm trying to rear charge them with the Chaos Chariot, do some extra damage, and you see that did knock their leadership down quite a bit. But amazingly, you know, with Tyrion in here and the Star Dragon, they're pretty comfortable. So they do finally get terrified, which is great. They're not immune to psychology. The Warp Chicken is taking a ton of damage from this dragon, even with Transmutation of lead. He's still got 66 weapon damage. Okay, no, he doesn't. That was actually before. Okay, so he's got 66 melee attack normally. But here, now it's just Tyrion, and he breaks. and he shatters. And Heart of Avalon never procced, because I was able to wrap up so much of his army that, you know, the balance of power just went too much in my favour, and he broke before that could proc, so I don't have to worry about, you know, my guys suddenly being absolutely terrified at the idea of fighting, you know, a really strong enemy, because their health bar does have an impact on, you know, nearby leadership. So if he suddenly had full health again, Warp Chicken would probably break, because he's got no health. So he'd suddenly realise there was a big threat near him, and that would affect his leadership. So you don't want that to happen. So you really want to pick off everything else first. But, all things considered, that was a very close game. You know, he managed to do really well with the dragon after that initial engage, you know, just to chase down the odd unit, break the odd unit, you know, separate my dragon ogres and do damage to them. So no, the dragon definitely a big help. Unfortunately, it did take a lot of damage in that initial engagement. He was able to keep the Mage of Life alive for a long time and got a lot of healing in. See the Swordmasters here? They absolutely cut Forsaken to ribbons. They are incredible against Forsaken. But you can see the rest of his units just are not. They just aren't as formidable. Basically, all my Forsaken were killed by that one Swordmaster Hoeth. So anyway, guys, if you enjoyed this, please do comment, like, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Have a good day, guys.